it is, then why are they creating the terror groups? Why are they funding the terrorists out there?
Yes.
Why are they making drop ships to ISIS?
Yeah.
And now ISIS is here, supposedly, in the United States. They have ISIS agents here. You know, if this is supposedly for our safety and security, then why are they funding the terrorists?
Because they need to have both sides of it.
Exactly. They have to have the
just like the drug war.
Create this.
We just had Freeway Ricky Ross, and we know that they were running the crack cocaine at the same time that they were fighting the war on drugs. So it's like, I'm from the government. I'm here to help you do both.
So let's go back. Let's play the C-SPAN clip again. If people are just joining us now, this is Colonel John Potosik, head of the Asymmetrical Warfare Group at Fort E.P. Hill, where you guys went about a year ago, got detained by this colonel.
Yes. Yeah.
And after you'd gotten permission to go on the base and check it out. And they let you into the asymmetrical warfare.
Yes, they let us in. And you know what? When we talk about this being for the United States, we stood at the corner of 1st and Main. And I took Joe Biggs' picture there at the corner of 1st and Main. Everything about this was thoroughly American. The street signs, the traffic lights were working. The only thing that was there that could be remotely considered not to be American was the mosque. But they had an American church right across the street from it. Stained glass, pews, the whole bit. This is training the military as well as the police. And, of course, as we talk about this, mastering the human domain, we will see that it is a fusion of the intelligence community, the law enforcement community, and the military. That is what should concern you. And we need to pull this back, and we need to say, this is not going to be the mission of our government. This is not going to be the mission of the military or law enforcement, and we don't want this kind of intelligence being kept on the American people. We're sick of it.
Right. Now let's go to that clip.
Morning, Colonel. I wanted to alert our citizens and to get an explanation, if we could, for an exciting military training called Jade Helm 15, which is all over the internet. I guess it involves 10 states, and there's going to be civilians participating in towns like Big Spring, Texas. Could you explain the magnitude of that and what the purpose of that is? And apparently you're going to have crisis actors, and there are going to be soldiers dressed in uniform and not in uniform, and apparently it's very exciting. Could you explain that to us? Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, it's not something that I'm familiar with, so I can't really explain that. But I do know that those type of things are things that we do here, where we get our soldiers the opportunity to work within an environment where there are civilians and soldiers. As a matter of fact, one of the things I could talk about is, unfortunately, I just don't know about that particular exercise.
I see nothing. I know nothing.
Head of the Asymmetrical
The Army's plan for a multi-state training exercise this summer called Jade Helm 15. While the military says it's just training soldiers for the realities of war, critics say the Army is preparing for modern-day martial law.
Was over a
Some
month
are calling
ago.
it a Texas takeover. What's happening is between July and September, a bunch of Green Berets, Navy SEALs, and Special Ops from the Air Force and Marines are conducting some realistic training exercises across the Southwest, including 17 different Texas cities.
Again, I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with that exercise.
Oh, I see nothing. I was not here. I did not even get up this morning.
So we had Colonel Schultz, of the head of the Asymmetrical Warfare Group, knows nothing about the biggest asymmetrical warfare exercise going on in the United States.
When Matt Drudge picked up our story on this, and he posted our story, and he also posted the a link to the document up on Scribed, that was their response. Yeah. I don't know anything about this. I can't respond to it. I can't see it. I don't, I see nothing. I know nothing. Yeah. That was their initial response, the same response as we saw here with this colonel at the Asymmetric Warfare Group. And asymmetric warfare and special forces and the unconventional warfare, that is all part of, they are intricately intermeshed with each other. He knows exactly what's going on with this, but he gives us the same lying denial. It's very transparent.
And that's over an hour of, well, it's about an hour, 55 minutes of this interview with this colonel, people calling in. Not one person agreed with what they were doing. They all saw the BS behind it. They said, look, you're training to go into our cities. You're training to take out our American citizens. You're training for gun confiscation, just like Katrina. And he denied it. He said, well, no, this is for training all over the world. And we're all over the world. I'm sorry, we're part of the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was everybody's concern about the NDAA when they passed that. Yeah. They said, we're going to allow indefinite detention by the military without trial and rendition. And everybody said, oh, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. We understand that you have given yourself supposedly authorization for use of military force worldwide. That includes the United States. That's why everybody is concerned, and rightfully so, about the NDAA. And you can see, if you look at that Fort Lauderdale clip, I mean, that is training. That's what that looks like when they come in the middle of the night march people out into white vans and take them away. That is the NDAA. It's been a couple of years, and so people have kind of calmed down, kind of gotten used to the NDAA, but they are training to do precisely that. I don't care if they're going to do that abroad. Well, I do care, because I think that's a very bad foreign policy. It's blown back on us. It has failed. Nevertheless, as Madison said, the means of defense against foreign danger have always been the tools of tyranny at home. And now they're practicing it. They're practicing it in our streets, in our cities. Yep. What does it take for people to wake up and see this?
Well, they're about to start using robots, because the colonel also lets out, let's go to this second clip, and he's talking about working with autonomous robots, how they dress them up in clothes, either soldiers or civilians, and they see how the soldiers react to it.
But when you talk about soldiers operating within an environment where they're civilians, one of the things we're looking at here at Fort AP Hill is a program of using autonomous robots. Essentially what we do is we've taken a number of robots that can operate independently, walk up and down these streets. We can dress some up in uniforms, we can dress some up in civilians' clothes, and we can use that as a chance here at AP Hill to train our soldiers how to discriminate between friendly forces, forces that may be evacuated. And that's just one of those great things that we're able to do at AP Hill.
It's a great thing.
Now, that's kind of scary, and that's really kind of breaking news that people are not. They've got robots that walk around that look enough like humans that they're dressing them up in,
He said autonomous robots. That means robots with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's crazy. It's totally.
Yeah, we got to go to break. We're going to come back. We're staying here in Overdrive. David Knight and Rob Dew.
Rest
Stay
of
with
the
us.
hour. We're explaining how Jade Helm is applying to you, how it's for domestic operations. They keep saying it's for worldwide training. That's why they're training here in the United States. It's for you. Okay,
we're part of the world, but it is very much focused on the things that they have domestically. This ties together the Dragnet surveillance, their surveillance of all the social media. This ties together the military as well, and that's a very troubling aspect of it. But it is domestic. We have the U.S. Geological Service there. They are mapping humans onto the geological map, and they're looking at you at the individual level, every aspect of you. This is where the surveillance pays off for them. This is the GeoInt, the human domain. And when they say mastering the human domain, it's a very specific term of art from the military.
And this has been an evolution. It started off as we're going to get real detailed maps of everything using satellite imagery. Well, now they have these detailed maps. Now they know who lives at what address. And now they're tying that in with your Facebook account, with your Twitter account, with your YouTube videos. So they're measuring your political beliefs, and they can go up and down and go, well, he's kind of for us. This guy's against us. This guy's pulling the party line. This guy isn't. We need to put him on a watch list. And they're using all this for future operations. And Jade Helm is what that is doing is getting the troops used to practicing here in the U.S. and getting local officials to work with those troops. That's what that is. And so there might be 3 or 4 more Jade Helms before something really happens. But they're building up these relationships.
They're building an infrastructure of tyranny.
Right.
There's a legal infrastructure, things like the NDAA. There is a technical infrastructure, things like the capabilities to do Dragnet surveillance. And then, of course, there's going to be a military and a law enforcement infrastructure. Those are merging. That's what you have to understand when they talk about the human domain, when they talk about geointelligence, mapping this all together. They're multi-int, taking all of this, multiple intelligence sources, focusing it down to the micro level. They're very concerned, they say in these presentations, they're very concerned about one guy with a computer and a video camera because he can have worldwide impact. That's why they're looking at you as an individual.
Exactly. And now I want to go to this first clip. This is Lieutenant Colonel Al DiLeonardo. This is from the Master of the Human Domain 2010 GeoInt Conference. And he used to run a fusion cell for U.S. Special Forces. Okay, so this is not some ordinary guy. When they show him in his intro picture, he's sitting there like a robot, like I'm scanning the terrain for enemies.
But it's Mastering the Human Domain Conference.
Right.
Okay, just like that's the bottom of the Jade Helm logo, Mastering the Human Domain.
So we're going to go to this first clip. This is clip 1 with the Colonel, and this is how they gather data using Facebook and Twitter. And basically, they want to predict the future. So here it is.
So I really had the privilege of running more of a multi-int innovation cell. The cell's objectives were to use as much non-traditional data from an intel standpoint. That means a lot of open source data. To go out and do sense making of data so that not only your analysts, but your machine learning, your algorithms you could build would ultimately get to a predictive analysis cell. It's very, very hard to do, especially if you don't have all the data. Basically, old data is good data, new data is good data, and all data is good.
I want it
in
all.
the context of how I view
Total
human terrain, somewhat controversial in some aspects, is it's sociocultural information, and it becomes, when used in intelligence purposes or for sense making for operations, when you bring it to the GeoInt, I don't mean to be coy in saying that, when you bring GeoInt to it, I think it becomes human terrain. You have to reach out and have
human
people
terrain
using traditional, non-traditional data sets, as you see there.
That's
further to the right.
Right there.
There's multiple
and ultimately,
layers.
as you bring in Esri products in GeoInt, you get outputs as unclassified examples there of different layers that you would make. It's that open source combined with the classified information, combined with the now, the old and the now, that begins to give you the layers you can make to make sense of what's really going on.
I don't know if you noticed that at the end, but we showed the Jade Helm logo, and then they're at the Mastering the Human Domain Conference of 2010. So just think of how far they've come in 5 years.
Yeah.
Right there, they were saying, well, we're trying to get this data. It's a little hard. Now it's all being seamlessly done. It's all done through cloud computing. Everything is an open book. Everybody's lives, people are putting their lives out there on the internet. You saw what happened with the family in Kentucky. They put a picture there. Hey, here's our beautiful family. Boom, instantly.
Yes.
The arm of the law comes down on them.
Because they're not necessarily looking for bad guys, as I say. They're looking for anomalies. And then once you get under their microscope, they'll decide if they like you or not. Okay? This is not about solving a crime.
Right.
This is about just scanning the environment, seeing what we're going to
what we could come up against on the battlefield.
Exactly.
And the battlefield is in the United States.
It all ties together with Rumsfeld's unknown unknowns. We'll talk about that when we come back.
We're on the march.
Water 20 is the code. It supports us. It's a win-win-win for everybody out there. And so let's get back into this. I got another clip of this colonel talking about, how they use the color coding system to classify friendlies and hostiles in a numbering system. And then I showed the Jade map, the Jade Helm map right there that has the different colors that he talks about.
And again, I think that map is the key thing, because just like the NSA spying, this went on for a very long time. We had whistleblowers. William Binney, about a half dozen whistleblowers from the NSA said they're violating the Constitution. They're collecting all your data. That's a violation, not only the Constitution, but the FISA Act, and nobody paid any attention to them. Then we got the documents. People saw the Snowden slides, and I think that's the thing. People look at this and they say, wait a minute, you're labeling places as hostile, and they said, oh, it's just an exercise, don't worry about it. You need to understand when they say mastering the human domain, this is about mapping everything they can collect on you geographically. So that is just the tip of the iceberg. That is just a big, that's just only part of it. The detail is if you look at GeoInt. Let's go back to
there you go. Let's go to the clip.
So we start out with a layered group level analysis. This is much like traditional all source analysis, intelligence preparation of the battlefield type of things, OPE these days. What we do is, we focus it on groups. We focus it on ethnicities, religious groups.
3%ers.
And
religious groups,
we start to map out in color code the different locations. And we might apply some basic routing and of transportation nodes and routes in that, and that will become a base layer. The second step we start doing is support level characterizations. The support level characterizations, we generally will make a scale, and we'll say +4 to -4. We'll take current ops activity in a particular area. We'll base it in the case of you pick a place and try and neck it down into a +4 being bad. A location, a -4 being a good location, and we start to characterize the location in a color coding simple way, green, yellow, and red, and then we start layering that on top of the tribal aspects, and we start to see very distinct patterns of
when they say tribal,
what tribe
I mean
X or
demographics,
what group X
politics,
supports
things like
or doesn't support hostile activities in their area, vice areas that are, say, green and
read the
clear
bottom sentence.
Problems.
Opportunity to work with civilians and gain their trust.
All-source-centric
right off the Jade Helm slide.
But often, up until maybe the last 5 or 10 years in the current fight, we have not really done a very good job of making the cultural aspects really relevant in everyday intelligence analysis. The next step you would take is to dive into each of those areas